How you doing, everybody? Nick DiVirgilio here to talk to you about this DW Collector's Series Mahogany Jazz 6-piece drum kit. And at first glance, I hope you can tell, this is a sweet-looking drum kit. This matte finish on this kind of killer, gorgeous mahogany wood with the nickel hardware. I'll get into all the details with you in a second, but it's a great-looking drum kit from far away. Looks really good on stage. Now, for those of you who don't know, let me explain the Jazz series. It's part of the Collector series of DW drums, so it's their top-of-the-line, fully high-end drums. The thing that makes the Jazz series different than the regular Collector series is the drum shell construction. All of the shells in the Jazz series start with a gumwood core, about 3 plies of gumwood. Now, gumwood is a soft and porous wood that is kind of well known for its round tone, and it goes together in combination with other woods really, really well. In the Jazz series, they use maple, cherry, or like this kit, mahogany. And I can tell you from firsthand experience in the studios here at Sweetwater, we have a cherry gum kit that sounds amazing recorded. It's a really, really great kit. And mahogany brings a nice kind of warmth to drums. It's well known for its warm sound, its warm tonal qualities. Coupled with the gumwood, the mahogany is a fantastic combination. You'll hear that in just a second when I play the drums. You get a nice warm tone between all the toms, easily tunable, and another cool thing about this particular kit are the sizes of the drums, which I'll get into in just a second. As you can probably tell from the camera shot, they're shallower. They call them their fast sizes, shallower than normal, and that brings out the focus of the sound. It's a really great combination of size and wood and hardware all together in this really cool drum kit. So let's get into the details right now. Okay, with these drums, they are 7 plies thick, 2 mahogany plies on the outside, 3 gumwood plies on the inside, and then 2 more mahogany plies on the inside of the drum. 7 plies thick. Now for the sizes of these drums, you get a 7x10 and an 8x12 inch rack tom. Now that's only about an inch shallower to the normal depth of toms. So it's not too much different in the racks. It's in the floor toms you really see the big difference. The first floor tom is 10x14. That's really shallow. And then the second floor tom is 11x16. So I mean, it's really short, and but there's a good focused tone between these floor toms. You'll hear in just a second. You also get a 6x14 inch matching snare drum, and the piece de resistance of this whole kit is the 15x22 inch kick drum. So nice small sizes all the way around. This would be a great drum kit for any kind of jazz club, you know, small house of worship setting. So you could take it in a bunch of different configurations. If you can only fit 1 rack and 1 floor at a gig, you're perfect for that. Or if you can take the whole ball of wax to a gig, you're good there too. So you can mix and match the drums up in many different ways for your live or recording situations. As you can also tell, these drums come with the toms mounted on the kick drum. That's a little bit different than a lot of drums these days. And it's kind of brings back that old school vibe of this is how drums used to be all the time. It wasn't until like the late 80s or early 90s where I started even noticing drums being hung on cymbal stands and racks and things like that. So this is a good old school way of having the drums here. As far as the hardware is concerned, all top-of-the-line DW hardware. Things that add to the tone of the drums are DW's graduated counter hoops. They worked really hard. If you've read their website or researched their stuff, they worked really hard on making these counter hoops just perfect so they sit on the drums just right and the heads are completely flat on the bearing edges. And they're graduated weights, so they're a little bit lighter on the smaller toms and they get heavier as the drums get bigger. So you get great counter hoops there. They call them their true hoops. You also get what they call their true pitch tuning rods, and what those are is the tension rods right here. There's more threads than your typical tension rod. And what that does is when you're tuning the drum, you only have to turn the drum key maybe a half a turn or a quarter turn to hear the drum change its pitch. It's really, really cool, and all those extra threads keep the tuning in place as well. It takes a lot more beating of the drum for that tuning to kind of get loose or go off a little bit. So the tuning rods and those extra threads really make a big difference in the tuning of the drum. You get the great classic DW lug, their STM tom suspension system on the rack tom, so that there's great resonance and free ringing of the drums here. Great bass drum spurs and claw hooks on the kick drum hoops. And like I showed you before, you get this kick drum mount for the rack toms. For the snare drum, the matching snare drum, you get DW's high-end strainer. You get the fantastic mag throw-off system that works incredibly well, really easy to use, easily adjustable. You can get 3 different tension wire settings with the 3-position butt plate, so great high-end stuff, and you still get their really high-end true hoop counter hoops on the snare as well. So that's all the features of the drums, how they're built, the hardware you get. Oh, let me say this before I get to playing. They have this hard satin oil they put on the mahogany wood of the drums here to give it this really cool matte finish, kind of dark, warm look with this nickel hardware. It's a great looking drum set, nice and just eye-catching, and it really brings out the great qualities of this mahogany wood. The last thing I want to mention on these drums is the new badge for the Jazz series, round, kind of vintage style looking badge. Says what the drums are. Just one more thing to add to the very cool look of these drums. All right, enough of me talking. Let's get into the playing of these drums. I have them tuned up pretty high and kind of, it's called the Jazz series. Typically Jazz drums are tuned up a little bit higher than kind of the rock thing. So that's kind of what I went for here. And I want you to really kind of check out the pitch between the toms. It's very musical tones between the drum, between each tom here. And what's cool, I just have single ply heads, single ply Remo Ambassador heads on here right now. And the sustain is not too long. I mean, you get sustain and projection for sure, but the tone is so cool between each drum and the sustain is not too long, you really hear the definite pitch when I hit each drum. That really brings a smile to my face because it's very musical sounding, you know? It's almost like bum, bum, bum. You can hear a definite tone there. Now with the snare drum, the matching snare drum, it is a great DW snare drum. There's great sensitivity in this drum. I have it, like I said, I have it pitched pretty high, so there's great rebound. But with the way the mag throw-off system and the strainer works, you can definitely hear the snare wires doing their thing under the bottom of the snare too. So there's a great combination there with the ease of the drum being tuned so high and the wires snapping, doing their snapping snap. Here we go. Really, really easy to play and great response. You know, it really gives back to me on this side of the drum kit, which is very helpful. Now for the kick drum, it's big. You'd think 15 inches in depth would not give you that big round sound, but let me tell you, it definitely projects that big beef. Here we go. It's warm. I have a little bit of dampening in there. When you buy the kit, you get a couple of custom DW kick drum pillows. There's two separate ones, one to touch the front head, one to touch the batter head. And they're just kind of lightly touching the two heads, so there's not a ton of dampening, but enough to kind of just stop the ring, you know, and still leave that kind of warmth and beefy attack. So you kind of get, again, the best of both worlds. This drum kit will work in a bunch of different musical styles. This is not just a jazz drum kit. Obviously, it's great for that kind of style, but this would be a great kind of hip-hop drum kit. A great drum and bass drum kit, definitely a really good Latin music drum kit. Play all kinds of cool songos and sambas with this drum kit. It would fit in that situation really, really well. And you'd be happy having this drum kit in the studio for sure. Different head combinations can give you even more tones. And that's it. These are really, really nice drums. All right, if you're looking for a great drum kit that'll work really, really well in the studio, equally well live, it's got a great look, and then it's a fantastic sound, this DW Collector Series Jazz Mahogany 6-piece drum kit is a really, really cool option that I think you should check out for sure. If you want any more information about this DW drum kit, just contact your Sweetwater sales engineer.